What's up, everyone? It's Bunny Clava, and as you can tell, I recently shaved my face. Today, we're going to be sharpening knives. I've been working as a carpenter. I'm no longer a stay-at-home dad. Mostly the reason why I've not been uploading at all, or as much as I've been wanting to. But I'm about to get another kitchen job as a chef, so I got to sharpen some knives. I actually ended up sharpening all my other knives back here, all my actual professional knives. But I'm staying at my brother's place, which explains the background. And his knives are not nearly as sharp as they should be, in my opinion. So today, I'm going to sharpen 3 of his knives, and I got 3 of my knives that I'm also going to be sharpening as well. And we're going to be covering the basics, what you need, and kind of dispelling some myths that I've been seeing floating around whenever it comes down to knife sharpening. Without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so here I have my little knife sharpening station. We're going to cover really 3 things that you need in order to sharpen your knife. One is a whetstone. You can use oil stones, diamond stones, wherever you feel like, but me personally, I highly recommend a whetstone. This one is a double-sided whetstone. We're dealing with 1,000 grit and 6,000 grit. One thing I feel like is not nearly talked about as enough as it should be is going to be a lapping stone. Without a lapping stone, you can't really achieve what you need to do. And the reason why is whenever you sharpen with a whetstone, what ends up happening is the stone will get kind of warped because you're sharpening going this way, maybe going that way. You're going to get these little divots. This lapping stone is what you use to smooth out your whetstone. We're going to cover how to do that as well. Another thing that you're going to need is a strop. A strop made out of leather, preferably with a sharpening compound on it. Unfortunately, I don't know where mine is. I tried looking everywhere for it, cannot find it. So I'm just going to be using a towel. And that's one of the myths I really want to kind of talk about real quick, too. The fact that people always say, oh, you need a leather strop. Not really. I've been talking to some old timers out there, people who have been chefs, people who have been like ranch hands and all that. And really, you can use damn near anything as a strop. I've heard old boys using their jeans as a strop and working just as well. Now, a leather strop with a good compound on there, you cannot beat it, but you can get pretty damn close. So today I'm just using a towel. So one of the things we always want to do is get your whetstone wet. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes in soaking in cold water. Not hot, you want cold water. Main reason why cold water is a lot more dense, so it's actually going to penetrate the stone a lot better than hot water, and you're going to get a better result when you go sharpen it. Now, another thing that you're going to need is, of course, water. I'm right next to the sink. The sink is halfway filled up with water. Unfortunately, my brother does not have a drain stop here, so I'm going to have to kind of keep filling this up as I go because I just kind of have a cup as my drain stop, and it's not working as well as I want it to. The first thing that you're going to need to do is just lap your stone real quick. Be sure that you're actually flat. Now with this, I can actually use this stone to see how flat it is, and I'm already pretty flat. But nonetheless, I'm going to give you all an example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, grit side down, and just move across it nice and easy. You're going to get the stone. You're going to see this start to come up. And what you're going to want to do is just be sure you're next to a nice body of water, nice little sink if you can. Take it, rinse it. Okay, that's all I'm going to do for the lapping, mainly just because the stone is already pretty flat. So I'm going to step my lapping stone off to the side. The stone's nice and wet. Grab the first knife real quick. First knife we're going to do is my Dull Strong 6-inch chef knife. I love this thing for breaking down chickens. This thing is a beast whenever it comes down to breaking down chickens. The thing is, though, is this is a really hard steel. This is, if I remember correctly, it was like 62, 64 Rockwell. Dense, heavy, stiff steel, which is good, but it makes it a little bit harder to sharpen. And also, not only that, but doing a lot of work with this, I busted a tip off to this knife. Not a big deal to me, mainly just because I don't use like the tip of my knife too much. I'll actually use the heel of my knife to do a lot of fine work if I really need to. I'm weird. But first off, we're going to just go over the basic sharpening with this. And the thing is, since this is such a hard steel, it's going to take a little bit longer compared to a softer steel, which we're also going to cover as well. So, dominant side, my right side, is going to be a lot easier for me to sharpen. I'm not applying a lot of pressure. And the way how I'm finding my angle on this is I'm literally just laying a knife on it and I'm just putting it right to the edge. I want to see a nice flush fit. And I'm just going to follow it back and forth. I'm not applying pressure. With this hand, I'm just kind of letting gravity hold my hand down and keeping everything nice and balanced. I'll work on the front of the blade a little bit and just keep it moving backwards. It's okay if you need to take this part slow, take this part steady. You don't need to do this part really fast. Now, I'm showing it slow to y'all, but normally I just kind of Now, we could get really technical on this and bring up, like, how many degrees is the blade supposed to be? It's supposed to be 15 or 12.5 or blah, blah, blah. Every knife is different. Every person's hand is going to be different. You will not match the factory edge. No matter what you do, you will not match it. So get to a position to where you're comfortable sharpening a knife and where it feels comfortable for the knife to be sharpened. That's the important part. All right, so let's pause real quick. Y'all see the little bit of metal coming off? There's a little bit of gray stuff all around. I'm not quite sure how it looks on camera. A lot of people say that's good for lubrication as you're sharpening the knife. But in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I'm not professional, not nearly by far. There's a lot more better people that you can go watch. Like Perfection is honestly a really good source of knife sharpening. But in my opinion, I want the stone to sharpen my knife. I don't think there should be much lubrication because I want the grit of the stone to actually sharpen this knife, not lubrication with grit. To me, that kind of defeats the purpose, at least in my logical thinking. So normally I'll just rinse off real quick. Now we're going to go on the other side. Now, you want to cross sharpen your knife because I've seen people try to match doing that way and then it doesn't get as sharp. A lot of reasons why, a lot of science behind it, but please do as I say. You can experiment yourself with it. You can go check out other channels that go way more in depth. I'm just showing you how I sharpen my knife. And this is what I've always been taught. This is the way how I believe in doing it. And this is what has gotten me great results going forward. So as you saw with sharpening on my dominant side, I'm kind of going with the shape of the knife like this. And you want to develop a burr. A burr is whenever, so this is a dull knife. Let's just use our hands real quick. This is a dull knife. A burr is whenever you start to sharpen, and now you have one side like this. So now we want to get this other side, sharpen, and we eventually want to keep pushing, boom, we got a sharp blade. That's the ultimate goal of what we're shooting for here, right? So right now, we're kind of like this. We want to be like this, but first we need to get like this. So now I'm going to move over to the left side of the blade, then my non-dominant side. And I'm kind of awkward doing this with my non-dominant side, mainly just because it's not my dominant side that I sharpen with. So I'm going to take this slow and careful. And this is kind of a dangerous part because what you could do is you could push down and dig into the stone, damaging your blade, all your progress, and the stone itself. And then you gotta lap it, and you gotta lap all the way down to where you dug into it. So you gotta be careful. Take it slow. Just follow that angle. And this is normally the speed I go at whenever I do this side. This is like me going full pace right now. Being careful, being sure I'm working that blade as much as I can. And one of the myths that I also kind of want to dispel real quick is the fact that you can use paper to show the sharpness of a knife. You can do that with even a relatively dull knife. Now, it is a relatively good test if you're trying to see how fine the blade is. Because what a dull knife will do is as you're cutting it, even if it looks like a clean cut, really look closely, and if you see the fibers of the paper splayed out and all wide like that, then that means that your blade could be honed, it could be stropped, it could be sharpened a little bit better, but it's not fully to where it should be, right? All right. I mean, that's already a lot better results. Get the stone a little bit wet. Now, this is one of my actual knives I use inside the kitchen. And I love using this knife for particularly, again, chickens is my favorite thing to break down with this knife. There's a Japanese style knife specifically made for breaking down chickens, and it's called a honeski. I don't own a honeski, and I really, really want one, but they're in a really rough shape to this, to where you have a nice steep hill that's going straight down. Normally they go a little bit straighter than this, and they go straight up, almost like a tonto. But this is relatively close to the shape of a honeski. So I love using this to break down chickens if I'm really trying to push through some meat or something like that. This does that pretty well. Now, don't get me wrong. I know there's going to be some people watching this like, you can just use an 8-inch chef knife. And yeah, you can use an 8-inch chef knife for anything. That's kind of the point of a chef knife. It does everything, right? But the thing is, we want a knife that can do the job a little bit better and easier. Like, it's for people who work in carpentry or anything like that. Imagine using like a 22-ounce hammer compared to a 16-ounce hammer. The 16-ounce hammer can do a lot of lighter things, but you don't want to frame a whole house using a 16-ounce hammer. You want to use a 22-ounce, and just the opposite. If you're doing like trim work, where you're doing like very, very light hammering to put some trim nails in, you don't want a 22-ounce hammer. It feels like overkill. I'm trying to think some other comparisons. For car guys, imagine using a Honda Civic to go off-roading. Yeah, you can do it, but it'd be easier to use a 4x4 truck that's actually made to go off-road. Trying to think. If there's any girls watching this, imagine buying one shade of foundation and one shade of highlight and saying that's what everyone has to use. there's different skin tones out there, so you can't just use one shade of foundation, one shade of highlight. You gotta actually put some variation there. I don't know. That's a great comparison. Imagine, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some other comparison for girls. Imagine if everyone can only use Wet and Wild, no other brands, just Wet and Wild. Or if you only buy one brand of makeup and you're not allowed to buy any other brands of makeup at all. So once you buy Wet and Wild or L'Oreal Paris or Jeffree Star or wherever you're into, imagine if you can only buy that brand for everything. There's different reasons why you want to use different brands. Is what I'm trying to get to. Just like there's different reasons why you want to use different knives, different reasons why you want to use different hammers. There's a science to it all, and there's a reason why you will want to use something compared to something else. All right. Oh yeah, that's good right there. So now I'm going to switch over to 6,000 grit. I'm going to check to see if it's flat. Looking good. Don't want any of that 1,000 grit clay on it. I want to keep it all. That's another thing too. If you're using lapping stone, don't get the 1,000 grit clay to a 6,000 grit clay. And I also just noticed too, it might be kind of hard to notice on camera, but already in sharpening, there's a slight divot going down in my stone. So next knife I'm going to sharpen, I'm going to lap it. All right, so 6,000 grit. There's also people out there that really say you only need to use 1,000 grit. And yeah, if you're only doing chef knives and all that, yeah, 1,000 grit is completely fine. You don't need anything more than 1,000 grit. Sometimes you will need a little bit less than 1,000 grit. If I was going to put a new tip on this and I was going to do that by hand, doing it with 1,000 grit, I'm going to be there all day. I would want something to like a 400, 800 grit, then work my way up to 1,000, 6,000. Do you really need anything more than 6,000? In my opinion, no, not really. I feel like once you hit 6,000, you're good to go. There are people that go all the way up to like 12,000 grit or whatever, and good for them. I'm glad they're able to do that. I'm glad they have the stones to do that and the time and patience. But me personally, whenever you get to 6,000 grit, and you get nice and polished edge, it'll become hair popping sharp. And that's really my measurement of sharpening something. If I can shave with it, and I can feel like I'm getting all the way down to my bare skin just by a simple tap with it, and it's able to pop my hairs off, that's a pretty damn sharp blade. I mean, I sharpened 7 of my knives like maybe 4 or 5 days ago, and y'all can see right here, my hair is barely going back. I did not get razor burn or anything from it at all. Like those knives were insanely sharp. Good to go. Like I'm really confident in that knife. So I'm gonna put my stone down there. And you refill the sink with water because it's all drained out because that cup doesn't hold. But I'll stir this down, and you can get kind of aggressive stropping. So as you can see, this is a lot steeper of an angle. Like I was sharpening my knife maybe like this. I'm going steep on it. I'm just gonna. I'm really dragging that blade across. And that to me, some of y'all might find this kind of gross, but I'm gonna show y'all anyway. That's good to go to me. If I'm breaking down chickens or whatever with that knife, then that's plenty sharp. That is plenty sharp for doing what I expect this knife to do. And that's another thing too. Let's just get one thing clear. You can do a ton of great things with a knife that's as sharp as an average pocket knife. There are knives that you're going to want to get way sharper, and I'll demonstrate what a way sharper knife looks like in just a second, and the reasons behind why you want a sharper knife. But I mean, if you're just doing rough cuts with vegetables, a lot of butchery or wherever, this knife or a knife this sharp will do that job 100% just fine. Alright, I'm going to pause and refill the sink with water and let my stone re-soak, and we'll get back to it. Alright, we're back at it. So like I said before, the stone was getting a little bit warped from just that sharpening. It's a really hard steel, so I'm not surprised. The harder your steel is, the more wear and tear you're going to put on your stone. And for anyone wondering, when you lap a stone or use your stone a lot, these stones do not last forever. Eventually they will get skinnier, 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 skinnier. And at some point, you will have to buy a new stone. That's just the name of the game here. But let's go ahead and lap. Let's see. Put my thing down. So right here on this side, see if I can get on camera. There's a little bit of a divot. You can see right there in the middle that the stone is now 100% flat compared to when I move the stone over to this side. Excuse the nick right there, but you can see that the stone is way more flatter on this side than the other side. And I need to bring this side down to match this side, is basically what we're going to need to do. And I'm going to be moving back and forth here. Try to get the stone as even as possible. All that clay buildup is going to prevent the lapping stone from doing what it needs to do. Alright, pause. Nice quick rinse. Give it a quick eyeball. And I can see I lapped this side way too much. Well, not way too much, but more than it needs to be. So now I need to lap this side down. And that's good to go right there. But as I was lapping, I felt the stone kind of go on me, which means this side now needs to be lapped. Let's see how we're looking. Same exact thing. This side's too low, this side's too high. Be sure I'm really, really watching this before I move on to this side. And this won't take a lot, especially these super high grits, they get lapped pretty easily. Check out their eyeballs. That is good. That is good to go right there. So I'm sure y'all probably saw this, and you're thinking to yourself, "You dumb fucking bunny, that's not a knife." Well, the thing is, this has a blade on it, so yeah, I count this as a knife because this will cut you, and I've had it cut me before. This is actually a single bevel blade on this bench scraper. And I'm demonstrating this because some people might have a single bevel knife out there, like a Usaba or something like that. Now, the reason why I have this and this has a blade on it is mainly because I used to do a lot of pasta. And sometimes when we would hand cut pasta, instead of grabbing a knife, I could literally just take this and cut the noodles from there. It was a lot easier, a lot quicker, and I also got pretty good results with this. But in saying that, it was another blade I need to maintain. So this will be the demonstration of how to do a single bevel knife. And it's a lot easier than a double bevel knife, as you can guess, because you're only doing one side. Kinda. So with this, I'm just going to follow straight with the blade. If it was curved, then I'll be doing the same thing like I was doing with the with my other knife. But this, I'm just going to keep it straight. And I'm not worried about this particular knife being like hair popping, shaving sharp, but I do want it to be sharp. I want it to be sharp enough to. I mean, I've used this to cut meat before. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. But I had used this to cut meat before, like when I was making stew. Literally, I just took a chuck roast and I just started cutting it up. So I mean, okay, that's looking good to me. I'll give it just a little bit more. Give this a quick rinse. Give it another pass. For anyone wondering that has like a chisel out there, this is the same principle as sharpening a chisel. You're sharpening one single bevel, just like this, but you're going to turn it around and give it just a quick pass. Not a lot. And the reason why is basically because we still want it to be a blade, but we want it to be more like that, right? But right now, it was like this. So we still got that burr right there. And we don't want to be cutting with a burr. We want to be cutting with a blade. So whenever I pass on the other side, it becomes kind of like this. So that way, whenever you're actually cutting, it uses the blade to cut like that. And that's basically the reason why some people use a single bevel knife. And there's a lot of reasons to use a single bevel knife for certain applications. There are very, very niche, very situational knives and reasons why you want to be using a single bevel knife compared to a double bevel knife. But there are people out there that do tons of great work with a single bevel knife. And there's a lot of reasons for certain applications why you want one. But this is a single bevel, so I'm going to treat it like a single bevel knife. Give it a nice pass real quick. The thing is too, when you're doing a single bevel knife, you don't want to just lay it completely flat. You can do it that way and do kind of like that. The thing is, then you're kind of getting all this, and we just want the blade. So I'm giving it like a nice little 2 degree lift, and I'm just a little bit, not a lot, a little bit. And that to me is pretty good. for the application that I'm using this for, that's good. Stone wet, 6,000 grit polish on it. It's hard to tell sometimes whenever you're wearing gloves like I am how sharp something is, but no, yeah, there's a pretty good blade on that. Again, put this in the water real quick. Get this a nice drop. And I'm happy with that. Again, this is not going to be like hair popping razor sharp like a regular knife will be, but this will definitely cut meat. It'll definitely cut through dough. It'll definitely, if I'm just mixing dough by hand, this will definitely move stuff back and forth, especially when I scrape going this way. I'm going to be moving everything from the board or whatever I'm working on, all the flour and everything. It's going to leave nothing behind. I've had great results with this in the past, making tons and tons and tons of pasta. So I love this thing. I heavily recommend getting yourself one that has a nice little blade on it, especially one with the comfort grip, because when you're using this all day, it gives you something nice to grab onto. I'm not a big fan with the thin profile. What is it like? Not Hell's Kitchen. It's like Devil's Cut or something like that. I'm not a big fan of those handles on there because they're really thin. Makes you kind of have to grip it, and it hurts your hand over a period of time. And if you have carpal tunnel syndrome like I do, it's not a big help. So get yourself a comfort grip. If you're a baker, somebody who works with pasta, or even if you're just using a bench scraper, grab yourself one. It'll save yourself a lot of pain. All right, checking for flat. Luckily, that didn't wear down my stone a lot, so we're still flat on both sides. Next up is going to be one of my brother's knives. This is a little French. I almost want to call it a petty knife, but this is just a really small chef blade kind of style. It's made by Chef Style, if anyone cares about knife brands or whatever. But yeah, we're just going to do the same thing. Because this is a thinner, smaller blade, there's not a lot of metal to hold on to. Whenever you're gripping a knife, you gotta be careful because sometimes your finger will kind of have a tendency to slip down when you're sharpening. Don't want to do that. Easy to cut yourself. Same thing when you're sharpening it like this. Your fingers can move down below the blade, and next thing you know, you're cutting into your finger. Definitely don't want that to happen. So we're just gonna go at it like normal. And with this knife, I'm noticing it has a pretty steep angle compared to some of my other knives. So I'm gonna follow its normal profile. Go all the way down to the tip. Work my way back. It feels weird doing this with gloves because the loose material, as y'all can see this, nipped the top of my finger a little bit just because there's like loose material. But like I said, you gotta be careful. You don't want your fingers to slip that far down on a knife this small. And one of the other myths I really want to talk about that I've seen so far, and my brother has one of these, is using a pull through knife sharpener like this. I want to set this aside in the bar while we talk about these. I hate these. These work if you absolutely do not care about your knife. And if you're just like a home cook or whatever, these work great. They're horrible for your knife though, because every single time that you use this, you're removing a lot of material from your knife very quickly. And if you're a chef who works in a very professional kitchen where you're using your knife, dulling your knife a lot, this will drastically shorten the life of your knife. If you're like me, that dull strong knife I was using was $120 at the time of purchase. I do not want to waste a $120 knife on something like this. Not only that, but you're not following the profile of your knife. So these are set to a certain degree of angle. And whatever this is set to, you're stuck with. There are some that are adjustable to whatever degrees of angle, but unless you know the bevel angle that you purchased your knife at, it doesn't matter. These are, I don't want to call them a waste of money, but if you're somebody who actually cares about your knife, and if you're watching this video, I assume you care about your knife more than the average person, try to stay away from these. There are certain times where if you just need to sharpen something really quickly and if you don't care about the knife, go for it. But another thing to keep in mind too, because you're removing a lot of mill, there's going to be tiny little mill shavings that you won't see. And unless you strop your knife or actually be sure you're removing all those metal bits, you might be getting those in your food, on top of the counters, inside your sink, whatever. Just not the best situation. And don't get me wrong, a whetstone technically does remove metal from your knife, but not in the same aggressive manner that this does, and not in a controlled manner, unlike this. Anyway, enough sidetracking. Get back to sharpening, right? That's what we're here to do. Also, another thing that I do want to talk about too is there are certain people out there that say like, okay, you need to do 10 times this side, 10 times that side, 20 times this side, 20 times this, whatever. Feel it. I can feel this right here. I can tell this side is higher than the other side, right? So that means I need to bring this side up. And I just want to slowly push and push and push them, and you can do that completely by feel. You only do a bunch of counting, or I know some people will like time how long they spend on one side compared to the other. All that to me is just complete nonsense. Just feel your blade, feel what you're doing, get used to what you're doing, get used to your knife, and just feel it. Because at the end of the day, when you're in the kitchen, that's what you're doing. You're feeling your knife as you're cutting, you're feeling your knife as you're doing what you need to do with it. You're not, but if I'm cutting tribes, it's not like I'm going like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, it's time for me to hone my knife on my steel. Okay, then I get back to it. Time to hone. No, I'm going to feel my knife. Get used to using your fine motor skills to feel. Like, if you're a chef and you're doing a lot of work in the kitchen, get used to how your knife feels. Don't try to make it all quantifiable, because at the end of the day, when you're cooking, you won't be able to quantify how good or how bad your knife is performing. You're just going to feel it. Give us a quick rinse and get all that loose metal shaving off. Switch sides. Okay, I'm not seeing a lot of metal come off this side, so if I go to this side, I'm seeing a little bit more come off. The one trick I will say that I do kind of agree with that I've seen people do is if you really care about the evenness of everything, you can use a Sharpie and ink both sides of the knife, so that way you can tell if you miss a spot or if you're going too deep or too far on one side compared to the other. Yeah, that's actually a method I would recommend if you really, really want to be anal about everything. But again, at the end of the day, if your knife is sharp, you're doing the work, and it's performing the way how you want it to work, you're good to go in my book. We can get bogged down in everything if we want to, but at the end of the day, there's nothing like actual feeling. And I mean, just like that, where I was going from one side and I just did a little on that side, because I felt the blade, and now they're both even. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Give that a quick dip in the water, quick rinse. I'm sorry if y'all can hear the cats in the background. They have zoomies right now, and they're going absolutely wild. All right. Now, is there ever a time where you need to use something insanely sharp? Yeah, I would say if you're like, for example, if you're cooking really fine green herbs like chives or scallions, something like that, then for sure having a very sharp blade to get those really clean cuts, especially because you don't want them to expire as quickly. A lot more talk I can do on that, but if you're cutting stuff with a dull knives will actually make food go bad quicker, because whenever you're cutting food, you're cutting cells. A sharp knife will cut a cell cleanly, unlike a dull knife. When you cut it, it's going to rip and tear and leave that cell completely open. Oxidization can get to that cell and just make it expire a lot quicker just based on that. That's also another thing I want to bring up too, is sushi. I used to work at a sushi restaurant. I used to help them process fish. I used to help do a little bit of the butchery there too. And if you're cutting sushi with a dull knife, you're going to taste it. You're going to take a little piece of sashimi, you're going to eat it, and you're going to think, why does it taste wet? It tastes moist. Unlike when you take a piece that was cut with a sharp knife and you taste it, and you can actually taste the fish. And that's because somebody with a dull knife cut it compared to somebody with a sharp knife. I actually pointed that out to my chef, and his mind was blown because he never looked into that intently. But I was a customer there at one point, and I was there with my fiance, and I got some sashimi. I love sashimi. I love eating raw fish. Honestly, it's a weird thing of mine. And I ate it, and I was like, "This fish tastes wet, almost like they just got them washing it." And I know that's not the procedure that we have there, so I took a piece of the exact same sashimi, cut from the exact same fish, and I literally walked back there. And this is when I was on a goddamn date with my fiance. I walked back there, and I was like, "Hey, chef, taste this." He took a quick bite and he looked at me. He was like, "What am I tasting for?" I was like, "You notice the moisture content on there?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then I explained to him the science behind it and everything. And sure enough, he went over there. The guy that cut the sashimi for me, he grabbed his knife. Your knife is dull. Why is it dull? And it's one of those small things that makes a big difference. And as a chef, we want to take care of every small thing so that way our customer has a nice, great, big experience. That's the ultimate goal of a chef. We're the unsung heroes that do all the small things so that way you can enjoy your big day. And that's kind of the joy of it, right? I mean, one of the things I used to tell my chefs or tell people I was training, if you did your job right, nobody will know. Because if you did your job right, everything just goes perfectly. It goes great. And is that kind of a bad thing? Yeah, because you want to get, you're passing the back. You want to be told that you did a great job. But at the same time, too, normally when people notice that you're doing something at work, it's really a bad thing, right? Like, why are these scallions cut too big? Why is wherever not the right size, or why is your station dirty? But if everything goes perfectly, they don't have to worry about you. They don't gotta think about you. They trust you. I mean, I actually got the quote from Futurama. Whenever Bender was talking to the giant galaxy god, whenever he was lost in space, and he throws Bender back to Earth after he was able to locate his planet of origin. And I remember the last quote very clearly. If you did something right, nobody will know at all. And that's honestly something that kind of stuck with me. All right, give this a quick rinse. Get a stone quick rinse. Actually, go ahead and put that in the water real quick. Because I feel like this knife is. Yeah, it's not where it needs to be if I was using this professionally, but it's my brother's like Walmart knife. This is only for demonstration purposes and because I want to be nice for my brother. All right, sharpness test. Oh yeah, that's shaving hairs. That shaving hair is good to me. So again, I'm happy with it. I know he's going to be happy with the fact that now he can pull out his little knife and it'll be good to go. And on to the next one. All right. Stone's all good. I just got done lapping it so that we all need to watch it for the 1,000th time. On to another one of my brother's knives. And this is also another myth I kind of wanted to spell real quick. See these little grooves on the inside here? There's this myth I've seen going around saying that these grooves will what is it? If you're cutting like a tomato or something that really sticks to a knife, it will help the tomato wherever you're cutting that's sticky fall right off. But you remember how I was just talking about how you cut something with a dull knife and it gets super watery? Well, that water, especially in something like a tomato that has a lot of liquid inside of it, will fill in these grooves and create a suction, actually making it a little bit more difficult for it to get off. So, in reality, if you just have a sharp knife, you don't need to worry about it. Also, too, if you're cutting something like a tomato, I honestly recommend using a serrated knife compared to something with just like a straight blade. A lot of science behind that too, but just use a serrated knife to cut tomatoes with. You're going to save a lot of time. It's going to be a lot less headache on you, and it'll just cut better. You'll feel better, and you'll have a better day. And that's really the goal whenever you're a chef, right? Having a good day. So again, just like all the other knives, and this was also a knife that gave me the idea to do this video because I sharpened all my other knives I use professionally, but I didn't want to pull out my whole knife roll in order to resharpen all the knives I just got done sharpening. So I grabbed this knife and I was just cutting like an egg or something with it, and I was like, "Damn, this knife is dull," because it just like pushed the egg down. The egg basically tore open because of how dull this knife was. So again, this one might take a little bit more care, a little bit more time than all the other ones, but just rinse and repeat. And I also just want to talk about too the reason why I've been kind of distant from YouTube as well. Don't get me wrong; I've still been watching a ton of videos from other people. I've been commenting on a lot of videos as well. But you know, when you have three kids and things got kind of dicey with living situations and bills and everything because there's only one breadwinner. And before my fiance was the breadwinner, I was the breadwinner. So switching off after a number of years and after she just had two kids basically back to back, it was a lot for her. And I cannot express how much I love her, how much I think she did a great job doing what she did. But at the end of the day, it was a lot for her, and I felt horrible. So I kept trying to do everything I can for her, and sometimes your creation needs to take a back seat, and you need to be a parent, a father. Well, a parent is a father, but you need to be a parent and and a husband first before a content creator. And that's what I've been doing. Get my stone wet again, real quick. And I also just want to say, if anyone out there is actually having a hard time, because I was having a pretty hard time not too long ago. If anyone out there is actually having a hard time, especially right now, just getting done with Thanksgiving, going into Christmas time, there's a lot of what is it called? Holiday depression or seasonal depression. I mean, please reach out. If you need to call somebody, call somebody. There are a ton of hotlines out there. Call those hotlines. They want to help you. I guarantee you. Don't think of yourself as a nuisance. Don't think of yourself as a problem. Those people want to help you. And I guarantee you, your family wants to help you before anything bad happens. And going through everything I've been through recently, I've had a lot of conversations I never want to have. And at the end of the day, I'm glad I had those conversations rather than stay silent and feel alone and feel like I was not accomplishing anything. Because again, at the end of the day, I guarantee you, whoever is out there in your life wants to be in your life. Even if they're angry with you, even if you think they hate you, whatever the case may be, I guarantee if you reach out to somebody, even if it's a friend you haven't talked to in 5 years, just like, hey, I'm having problems. I'm thinking about XYZ, and I just kind of want somebody to listen or help me process or, whatever the case may be that you're looking for, do it. And again, if you feel like there's not somebody you're comfortable talking to, call a hotline. And there are plenty of hotlines out there that are willing to help you. And I ask you from the bottom of my heart, honestly, please do not give up. Please keep pushing. Please call somebody. Anyway, back to knife sharpening. That was just kind of like my little motivational rant to people, especially because I know right now there's a lot of seasonal depression going on. Trust me, I felt it myself. And yeah, I just ended up talking to people. And I'm so glad that I did. It made me a lot closer with certain people I have not been close with in years. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay, so what I'm feeling is when I'm going to this side, is kind of rounded over compared to this side, which is completely sharp. So I'm just going to kind of keep going as I was going. Switch over. If you think I'm doing this all wrong and you got like your own opinions, your own methods, leave a comment. Or better yet, make your own video. Like really, get creative. Make your own video. because at the end of the day, YouTube needs more creators. It needs more passionate creators that actually want to be on the platform, not just people who want to do it for the money. I'm making $0 from this. I'm sponsored by W Energy. Speaking of which, go check out W Energy. They have a lot of great sales going on right now. Use my code below or use Bunny Clava at checkout to save yourself 10%. Sorry, just had to get that out of the way, but I'm sponsored by them. I'm not making money from them. And I'm completely fine with that. I'm happy with their products. I use their products. I drink a lot of their stuff. I love their shakers as well. But I'm not making money off of this. I'm happy to be sponsored by a company that I like. And I'm in this for the love of the game. Don't get me wrong. I would love to be like Asmongold and be able to just not give a fuck and stream for 12 hours a day playing games I like playing. That's a dream, right? But also, Asmongold is in it for the love of the game. Like, homie makes millions, and he doesn't do anything with it. He just loves doing what he's doing. And at the end of the day, that's the whole point. There are people who are on TikTok, or on Facebook, whatever social media platform, YouTube, that just do shit to go viral and make a lot of quick money. That's not the point of creating content. Like, look at all the big names on YouTube. They've been doing it for years and years and years. Asmongold has been on YouTube ever since he was like 15 or something like that. PewDiePie was on YouTube way back in the day too. Trying to think some other big names, but there's a ton of people who do this for 10 plus years before they ever hit a big number that actually will change their life. And the reason why they stuck around doing what they're doing is because they liked doing what they're doing. So again, if you don't like making videos, then don't keep doing it. If you truly have nothing to say, nothing to do, then go do something else. Go find yourself a true passion, a true hobby that you're into. Me, I love watching YouTube. I love watching content that people will do. And I want to be a part of that. I want to make my own content of things that I like doing, things I like seeing. So that way, whenever I do get a big community put together, they can enjoy the things that I do, give me ideas of things to do more that I might like, and I can really expand my world past just doing what I would normally do during my day. Alright, we spent a good amount of time on this knife, longer than all the other knives, but hey, that is sharp now, and I'm happy that it's sharp. Move over to 6,000 grit, get nice and polished now. I got a few other videos working right now. I'm actually planning to do some weight loss videos because I'm 20 pounds overweight. And I'm not quite sure how it happened, when it happened, but I'm gonna shred that 20 pounds. Actually, my goal is to lose 25 to 30 pounds. And a lot of that starts with just a good diet. Like, I know normal calorie intake for most people is like 2,000 calories. I'm trying to cut it down to about 2,200 to 1,500 calories a day and take about 10,000 steps. So doing that, it might take me like a month, 2 months, maybe 3 months to lose all that weight, depending on how active I am during work and all that. But yeah, I'm gonna do a little bit of videos on like nutrition and just basic workouts people can do. And I mean, a lot of people have a lot of opinions when it comes down to losing weight, when it comes down to dieting and all that. But as a chef, I studied gastronomy for a good period of time, and there's a lot of myths out there, and I'm going to do Again, when I'm doing that weight loss series, because losing weight takes time. It's just not going to be one 10-minute video where I just lose 30 pounds. I'm going to do a series on it. But I'm going to be talking about some like weird myths that I've been hearing when it comes down to losing weight, gaining muscle, and stuff like that. And believe it or not, when I was in high school, going into my freshman year, I weighed 220 pounds. And I was like 5'8", I think, 5'10". So I was like 40 to 50, 60 pounds overweight. By the end of my freshman year of high school, the only two things I did, well, three things I did was one, I cut back on eating fast food and junk. I cut down my calorie intake doing that. Two, I stopped drinking sodas and a lot of sweet beverages. And I started drinking only 100% juice, 100% V8 juice. Very important that was 100%, and water. The only two things I would drink. And I also started skating around that time, so I was getting a lot more physical activity and I was burning a lot more calories. I was sweating a ton. And from 220 pounds, I went down to 170 within one semester. My gym coach was the one that was like keeping track of my weight because that was part of our like semester physicals or whatever. And he even told me like, "Hey, you lost a lot of weight really quickly, and that's kind of scary. Slow down, be careful, and take care of yourself. But great job, you're doing fantastic." And I stayed at 170 all the way up until I was like 22, 23. And I gained like 5 to 10 pounds, and I was at 180. And I thought I was at 180. And I was even feeling kind of, I don't want to say the word fat, but I was definitely feeling, I was feeling kind of good at 180. So now that I'm at like 200 even, and I'm supposed to be at, let's call it 180 to 175, I was kind of like, how the hell did this happen and me not feel it outright? And don't get me wrong, I'm 6 foot even, but I'm supposed to still be at 175 to 180. And I want to get down to 170, even maybe 165. But I want to do it in a healthy way. I don't want to just lose fat. I want to actually gain muscle with it too. Also, another video I'm going over is Cobalt tools, because I ended up buying some more tools due to the fact that I was getting back into carpentry. And I ended up buying some more Cobalt tools. Cobalt 24 power tools. And I gotta say, I am extremely happy that I did that because, oh my god, I love them. There's some Cobalt haters that I ran into out there. But then again, when I put one of my tools in their hand and they actually use it, and then I tell them how much I bought it for and how much the battery cost is and all that, they get fucking stunned. And if you're going from like a battery platform like Ryobi or Craftsman or one of those lower brands, Heart, whatever, wherever, Cobalt is honestly going to be your best friend. Your best friend. Although don't get me wrong, so like the thing is, Cobalt I would compare it to Rigid, but the thing is they're cheaper than Rigid, and they sometimes even outperform Rigid. So that's why I ended up choosing Cobalt rather than Rigid. And boy, am I happy that I did that. Also, I like the color blue. Alright, we've been sharpening this knife now for a long time. Let's see how we're doing. Good. Good. Strop it. Test it. And I mean that's shaving. That's shaving good to me. Again, for just a knife that my brother normally doesn't care about, this is plenty sharp for him, and I'm happy. All right. I'm going to do one more knife with y'all just so I can keep ranting and keep getting stuff off my chest. And next knife I'm going to do is this knife. This knife was actually a gift for me from my fiance. And I ended up liking this knife a lot more than I thought I would. Because originally she got it because it was a cleaver, and I don't own any cleavers. And she was like, you can use this to break down meat with. And I was like, this is way too thin to actually be like a real cleaver. You want your cleavers to be pretty beefy and chunky, so that way when you're actually slamming down on some meat, it'll go through with the weight of it. And this is also a really small, like 4-inch cleaver, so I didn't end up using it like that. But this knife is great for vegetables. It's amazing for vegetables. And like if I'm doing a lot of prep work and I gotta scoop up a lot of stuff and move it, this knife is great for that. I own another vegetable cleaver. That's a Japanese vegetable cleaver. The name that they're called is escaping me at the moment, so excuse me for not having my verbiage down as I'm going into this. But honestly, if you're using a vegetable cleaver as a prep cook, it will change a lot of things. And this knife to me is absolutely great. I love it. She also got at Target for like $10. So I mean, hey, she's just like me. She sees a good deal on something and she knows that it's actually gonna be like useful and practical. She'll scoop it up. I need to lap this stone real quick. As I was going, I hope this shows up on camera, but I felt the heel of this knife dig in right here. It might be kind of hard to see. There's this nice little scratch mark in it real quick. And eyeballing it, this side is lower than this side. So as I was sharpening this, let's call it. So as I was sharpening, one side dipped down lower than the other and ended up digging in. That's a real reason why you want to keep your stones nice and flat. Because if you don't, mistakes will be made. You'll damage your knife, you'll damage your stone, and you'll damage your attitude in the process. See where we're at. Still a little bit high. Again, wipe it off real quick. Get some of the clay that's on here off. I keep calling it clay. I'm actually not quite sure what this material 100% is. But I mean, it looks like clay, kind of feels like clay, so to me it's clay. Alright, see where we're at. Getting close. Actually, I'm going to flip this down because what ends up happening is I put a lot more pressure on my heel than my fingertips. So this side could be getting lower than this side. And this side will stay high because I'm putting more pressure back here. So again, another good, if we really do care about knife sharpening, I'm just kind of going at this the way how I know how to. There's a lot more scientific approaches that you can do to this, a lot more knowledgeable people that can really tell you a lot more about certain knife angles and certain techniques and certain reasons why you want to do a certain form of knife sharpening compared to other ways how to do it. And one of my favorite channels to watch is Burrfection. It's kind of like perfection, but burr, because a knife burr. Burrfection. That dude has a ton of great videos. He's very knowledgeable, and I cannot recommend him enough. Love watching his videos. Like I could seriously watch him all day if I had the time. All right, see where we're at. Next plat. Check the other side. This side's high. This side's low. Just like before. Get that quick rinse. Knock off all that clay. Good to go. I seen. Oh, another one of the myths I wanted to spell is like this. It's like a rolling knife sharpener thing where like you put your knife to a magnet, and then you use like this rolling thing. Why? You're doing exactly what this thing does, but with extra steps. So yeah, just learn how to sharpen your knife. It's better for you. It's better for your knife. You get better results. Don't get me wrong. If you're a home cook and if you don't care about the knives because you just bought a bunch of Walmart knives or whatever, then yeah, go for it. I'm not gonna knock you for it. I'm not gonna say like every person who owns a knife needs to know how to use a whetstone. Brr. I'm just saying, if you're somebody like me who's a chef and actually cares about the results and is relatively anal about the results as well, then yeah, you should learn how to maintain your knives. Like this is like um a cheap target knife. I enjoy using it, and I want to use it to its fullest capabilities just as much as my other $100 knives. Oh yeah, but not only that, but my fiance bought me this knife. It's a special knife, so I want to treat it like it's a special knife. All right, cool. I feel good with that. Go on the other side. I'm feeling good with how sharp this knife was before, but I use this to cut again scallions or chives with. So I need to get really nice and close and really tight while this knife is really sharp. We went over why using a sharp knife is good so that way they don't spoil. Because the last thing I want to do is like cut a bunch of herbs and they all come out dark army green and it looks bad. And then everything spoils quicker too. So then I need to do the work that I just did all over again the next day. And this thing is awesome to cut chives with because I can, cut my chives, cut my onions, whatever, take them, scoop them, throw them over in my Cambro. And what is this? Cuisinart? However you pronounce the name of this fucking brand. Let me rinse off this blade real quick. However you pronounce the name of this brand. People know this brand as like a cheap Target brand, as a cheap Walmart brand. And it's funny because I'll roll out my, $800, $900 to $1,000 worth of knives, and then I'll pull out this $10 knife. And they look at me almost like I'm joking until they see how much work I'm able to do with just this one knife. And you know, that's another thing too. Start with cheap knives. I'm not a big fan of Mercer. I would say get yourself Victorinox. I'm a big fan of Victorinox knives. They're a lot nicer than Mercer knives, and they cost the exact same. At least in my opinion. Nothing against Mercer. That's just my personal opinion. Actually, funny enough, Victorinox knife, if y'all can tell, cut this part of my thumb off. See how this side's more rounded, and this side right here is kind of pew. Yeah. Again, I was cutting chives, and like an idiot, I had my thumb out like this rather than keeping it tucked in. It was a little bit out, and I. The thing is, though, that knife was so freaking sharp that there was no blood on my cutting board. I felt it happen, and I just went, fuck. I grabbed my hand, ran to the dish area where we had a spare sink, and I put my hand over that spare sink to assess how bad the damage was. And sure enough, it was pretty bad. Cut off the tip of my thumb. And you know, the chef that was working with me during that time saw it happen. He didn't know that I cut the tip of my thumb off because there was no blood anywhere until he looked over at my cutting board and he saw all my chives. My knife was laying on the cutting board like this, and the tip of my thumb was just kind of chilling on top like that. Which then he took, like a great chef that he is. Love that man to death. I still talk to him until this day. Took a picture of it. He took a picture of it, sent it to all his friends, most of his family, sent it to me as I'm back there in the back bleeding. He sent it to me on my phone. He sent it to all our higher chefs. He took the cutting board, holding it like this back there, and he went, hey, Vato, look at that. And sure enough, I saw the tip of my thumb on there, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to the hospital for this one, aren't I? But yeah, they ended up just wrapping it up really well. I took like a day or two off because I was on a lot of pain medication for it. And it took maybe like 2 to 3 months to heal. Another 6 months after the 2 to 3 months for it to stop feeling pain. Good times. Good times. But yeah, I cut my thumb off with a Victorinox knife. And that was one of the cheapest knives I owned. I had like I had 3 knives with me that day. Both the other knives are $150, $100 knife, and then I was using that cheap $20 Victorinox knife just to cut chives with real quick because the other two were dirty. And when I got to the hospital and they saw the cut, they went, and they knew I was a chef. They went, "Wow, you must have been using a really expensive knife to cut your finger with." And I looked them dead in the eyes and I said, "I was using the cheapest knife that I owned during that time." And they burst out laughing. Get this a little bit more wet again. Do a little bit of quick paste sharpening here. Good to go. Switch over to 6,000 grit. And this is the last knife I'm doing with y'all. Just because this video is probably going to be pretty long as is. And I'm sure a lot of people who clicked on this video have already probably clicked off by now because I realize I'm just going to be rambling during this last part. But for anyone that stuck around this far in, thank you. I appreciate you all. And please, and I mean this, please leave a like and a comment. You will not believe how much that actually helps a channel out, leaving a like and a comment. I remember before I started a YouTube channel, I was thinking like, oh, that's just what they want, just to get more money. But no, to a smaller channel like me, it really does make a big difference. So if you see this, leave a like and a comment. Even if you're just going to comment, you have no idea what you're doing. You shouldn't be a chef. Cool. Like that to me is still fine. Just leave a like and a comment. Also, too, if anyone watches this, tell me some other videos you might want me to see. I'm planning to do a weight loss series, my cobalt tools. I'm going to talk about my tool belt setup as well because I think I can tell some people some pretty good tips on how to set your tool belt up, especially if you're a new guy coming into the industry, and if you're planning to be like a framer or a carpenter, a plumber, maybe. Just things to look at and consider whenever you're first getting your stuff together, especially if you're on a budget like I am. Because I've really had to do my research and do some really hard thinking, and I'm willing to tell you my experience and my opinions, so that way you don't have to think as hard. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good. I like that. So again, put it down. Get my strop. Quick test. And that thing is shaving like butter. And that's what I want this knife to be as sharp as. I want it to be sharper than this knife because this is just going to somebody who doesn't do professional work and doesn't cut a lot of herbs. And even if they do, they only need to last inside a Cambro for 2 to 3 days. Compared to this knife, where I'm using it professionally to cut herbs and a lot of vegetables with, and I need it to really hold up over time. And I really need it to be sharp to get those really fine cuts and for the food to last longer inside of a Cambro. So again, thank you for anyone watching. I really do appreciate it. Let me get down so that way y'all can actually see. Alright, anyway. Thank you to anyone who was actually watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you stuck out to the end, thank you. Love you. I appreciate it. I hope everyone has a great holiday season. And please go check out W Energy. Just click on my link and see what products they have. They might have something that you like. Might have something that you might want to buy somebody as a gift. And use my code BUNNYCLAVA at checkout in order to save yourself 10%. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Peace.